American who can do math?
What in the world? Got fuel pressure. Generating smoke. Yuck. This smells awful. So hi, my name is Patrick and thank you for joining me on this video today. Today I'm going to discuss some of the simple ways of diagnosing why your 7.3 liter PowerStroke won't start. Well, the first thing you probably want to do is just grab you a can of idiot spray, right? Here, let's see. Come right here.
Okay.
Go turn around where you're going to face the truck.
Okay.
And get your fingers out of the way of the camera at the bottom. There.
Whew.
I'll drop it.
No, Daddy.
Okay, no, you don't ever actually use the idiot spray to start a diesel. That's not the correct way. Okay, so if your truck's not starting and you know it's a cold start for the day, even if we're talking summertime, before you do anything that I've already described in the video, the first thing that you need to go ahead and do is plug in your block heater and let that start warming up, because if your truck will start with the block heater plugged in and it's not been running already, or other words, the engine's already not hot, because if it's a hot no start, that's a different story. But if it's a cold no start, then you need to go ahead and warm your engine up, because if the glow plugs or the relay's failing, then you know that's going to cause it not to start. And if the block's already warmed up the block heater, it probably will start. So I had a truck myself, the 97 PowerStroke that I used to have anyway. It was the same way. When I got it, the glow plugs were all burned up except for one of them, and it would only start if you had the block heater plugged in for about 2 hours. So go ahead and start there with that, and then go ahead down the list that I'm provided, and yeah. Oh my goodness. I set this one up not to start. I unplugged 3 of the 4 injector wiring harness connectors on the outside there. And the reason you're hearing it trying to kick is I guess I didn't get the 4th one all the way unhooked. So anyway, the first thing of course you would do is, you know, check and make sure that you don't have those unplugged from your valve cover harness. The one in the back is pretty much, I guess, you're not going to be able to get that off with the air breather tube in the way. The other thing to mention is on this truck, you know, you don't usually see these red things in the absence of a fuel bowl or fuel filter housing. That's because this truck has an electronic fuel conversion that has electronic frame mounted pump and filters, and that's the fuel pressure regulator on this system. So anyway, back to the no start issue. If you were driving your truck and it just shut off on you, I've had this happen to me. Here on the back of your high pressure oil pump is your injector pressure regulator, or your IPR valve, and on it is also a little solenoid. You can see the connector here on the top for the solenoid, and then back here there's a nut that holds the solenoid onto the actual valve. And what's happened to me before is this nut has came off and the solenoid came off and my truck shut off. Now if you want to check your sensor for your oil pressure, you can unhook this connector here, and well, this one at least is nice and dry, but that's also because it was replaced not long ago. But if there's oil in there, then that's probably bad. But you can go ahead and get in and try and crank it up again and see if it'll start. And if it starts with this connector unhooked, then this sensor has failed and you'll need to get it replaced. It's not hard to do at all. Another thing that might be causing one to not start is right here is a back pressure sensor. And if you'll notice, there is a shiny tube that runs from that. That's because this truck has a new one on it. Yours probably corroded and such. And it bolts right here into the exhaust manifold. And that could also cause it to not start, or to cause it to run like crap and not to build up any boost. The other thing, if your truck's not starting, you will want to probably check and make sure your battery's worth the crap. Now on one of these with the fuel bowl, you'd want to check and make sure you're getting some kind of fuel pressure. In my truck, I have a fuel pressure gauge, and if you noticed at the start of the video, I had fuel pressure, so that definitely wasn't the problem here. The other thing that you'll want to check is your glow plug controller. Now, carefully note that the one large wire that actually comes from your battery, and the one that has the two brown wires going into it that aren't as large as that one wire, that goes to your glow plugs, one for each side. So what you need to do is you need to take a voltmeter when you got your key on, when you just had it flipped on, because these will stay on for about 1 to 2 minutes after you flip the key on. Just because the wait start light goes out doesn't mean that this stops working. So anyway, you'd need to check right here on the terminal that go to your glow plugs with the positive, and ground it to something like the battery, and you'd need to check and see if you're getting 12 volts out of that or not, because if not, that could be another problem, your truck doesn't start. Another thing that is typical for these 7.3 liters is there's a camshaft position sensor. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a good shot of it here, if you can see that or not, but it's right below the crank on the passenger side, and you need to replace that. You always make sure you get the gray style, not the black style, because the black style doesn't usually last as long. But that's down there. It's always a good idea to keep one of those in the spare on your. It's always a good idea to keep one of those in the glove compartment on your truck for a spare. If after trying all this you still aren't getting a start, another thing that you would need to consider is that your high pressure oil pump has quit working, or I mean maybe your IDM has quit working if you're not getting fire to your injectors, because if your injectors aren't firing, you know, you're not going to go anywhere. So what you need to do to check your H-pop to see what kind of pressure you're getting out of this thing is you can unbolt one of these other bolts here that run along your oil line that goes inside the head, and bolt on a pressure gauge and check it with that. That's the only way I know to do it. If you're not getting any smoke at all, and you're not sure about your fuel pressure, I would start looking as far as going to the fuel tanks. That's right, because the way I bought this truck is that the guy was getting ripped off by the Ford dealer for it being a no start, and turns out on the front tank the pickup tube was so clogged that it wasn't sucking any fuel, and the rear pickup tube was snapped off. So a no start could be just as simple as that. But here, let's go ahead and plug these wires back up. Looks like it's about time to put some valve cover gaskets on this thing. It's been leaking a little oil there. It's like I was saying about the, I don't know if you can tell that or not, but the inside of that is definitely wet. But when these go bad, they start leaking oil through the connection. When these go bad, they start leaking oil through the connectors, and they usually short out the wires and stuff like that. So you could have valve cover gaskets going bad if it doesn't want to start on you. Also, when diagnosing your no start, you might want to unsnap this plug off here and check the actual status of the wire, because you can see right here that this one's seen a little bit of melding action and stuff going on. That's more than common for a truck at this age. Those wires short out, it's not going to start, guys. So make sure and check the plug that goes on the back of your injector pressure regulator. If you have to replace that plug, they're like over 60 bucks to find them. If you have a old valve cover gasket, the plug that goes onto the injector is the same exact plug that goes onto the back of the injection pressure regulator. So that's a much cheaper fix than buying just the plug. Okay, so maybe your injectors aren't working. One thing to look at would be this right here. This is called the IDM, the injector driver module. And all you need to do is take those four 8 or 10 millimeter bolts, I can't remember which it is, out, and also the 10 millimeter bolt on the back of the connector right there to get the connector off. You just take it out. I don't have any real way of testing these other than you know, just using a spare. So, you know, if you have somebody that has, you know, a scan tool that can cause these to do the injector tests, then that's what I'd advise you to do. Also, if you noticed at the first of the video, the tachometer was bouncing or moving when the engine was cranking. That's a good sign that the crank position sensor and both the ECU are functioning as they should be. If the tachometer is setting at 0 and not moving, then something's wrong with one of those two items, because it's not, because the tach will show when you're cranking. If your battery terminals are corroded like that right there, pour some Pepsi on them or Coke. Okay, so a couple of other items that I didn't bring up, you know. If your truck doesn't start, you're going to want to check your oil level, because on the PowerStroke, if the oil level is not sufficient, then it won't be able to feed the high pressure oil pump, and the injectors won't fire. It's kind of a nice safety features on those. It's kind of a nice safety feature on those, because you're not able to actually run it out of oil and, you know, seize it up that way. Then another thing you'd want to do is make sure that your air breather filter is not clogged, because it can become so clogged that the thing can't run. That's really bad news for the seals in the engine. The other area that we really need to address is that what I've already went through is that if your engine is cranking and, you know, you can try to start it that way. Well, what we need to address now is if you can't even crank. If you turn the key and you don't hear a click anywhere, the first place that you're not going to need to start is, if it's a manual, you'll need to check the clutch safety switch on your truck and see if that's failed. If it's an automatic, then the gear selector sensor that is on the side of the transmission where the shift linkage connects to. Because those right there will cause it not to send a signal to the relay that's on your firewall. That's the next point to check. If you are hearing a clicking sound, make sure that you're not just hearing the one on the fender, because there's two solenoids on a PowerStroke Diesel. There's one on the passenger side firewall, and there's also one on the starter itself. What you can do is go to this relay here and just jump these two terminals. It's on the passenger fender wall, or fender. It works just like this right here. And so if you're getting it to crank there, then you've got some other electrical problem going on. Anything, you know, from your clutch safety switch to you've got an automatic, maybe the sensor's going off there. Maybe the sensor's going bad on the side of your transmission. That's for the gear selector. If you, after shorting out those terminals, if you still ain't getting the start, then you're going to have to start looking down towards your starter. And either it's a solenoid that's mounted on the starter, or the starter itself has died. Also make sure that the wire hasn't corroded off or melted off or any of that kind of craziness as well. And make sure that your vehicle's in neutral or park, by the way, because you know it's going to start cranking and it may fire up. So anyway, it doesn't matter if the key's on or off. If you short these terminals out and it starts, then you can go ahead and roll out that there's a problem with the starter, the solenoid on the starter, which also goes bad and causes a no crank condition. I had a solenoid fail on my truck and it not work, or it also just short and hang up and then just keep cranking the engine even after I've let go of the key. That's just crazy, but that can happen when one's failing. The other things to check for is if you're getting a click, you might want to take off your battery cables from your terminals and clean both the terminals and the cables. Also check the cables really thoroughly, because they could be burning up and like just about destroyed, and if the starter's not getting enough amps, then you know it's not going to do squat. So you want to check all that stuff. And you know, finally, you could have a bad ECU or ECM, you know, the engine computer, and it could have failed. It does happen. Sometimes, usually what happens to these things, or IDMs are, is that water winds up getting down inside the casing and damages the electronic components. But you have to check and make sure that also, before you go any further with that, you want to make sure that all your fuses are good, because you know, it so happens sometimes a fuse blows. So you want to make sure that all your components are getting the power as required. Use a test lot or a voltmeter. Like I said, I'm sorry, I forgot to add all this stuff in the video while I was making it earlier, because my videos aren't scripted. I just make them on the fly mostly. So you know, when I was out there fooling around with the truck, I had other things on my mind, and I didn't get all this stuff out and show how to do it. So do forgive me. I try to, with the pictures that I have, I'll do the best to illustrate what I'm talking about. My little 6-month-old boy David, he's laying right underneath the camera tripod right now, just laughing and smiling and stuff, trying to talk too. So anyway, you know, if you don't have kids and like that stuff, I hate it for you. So anyway, yeah, making me forget what I was trying to say. Whatever you do, don't pull that tripod down. If you're getting powered down to your starter and also to your fender relay, and it's not cranking, then you can short out the small wire and the big wire on the starter itself to go ahead and override the actual solenoid on it. And if it doesn't spin at that point and there's actual power going to it, then guess what? Your starter's dead. We'll need to go pick you up one. Look at the you know, Advanced Auto Parts. The one that I got for my 7.3 had a lifetime warranty on it, and only ran me about $160 after tax, I believe. So, you know, get you one that you can go ahead and get replacements at, where you can get. Well, I don't recommend getting a remanufactured starter. Get a brand new starter. Remanufactured starters typically don't last as long. I'm sure there's something I've probably forgotten to cover in this, and please feel free to add it to the comments. Eventually at some point in time I may make a second part to this video, and I hope that it's been able to help you in some way or another. So I appreciate you watching my videos. But thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching my video. I truly hope that this was a help to you, either now or on down the line, whether you don't have truck trouble right now. Hopefully you're going to remember something on down the line that's going to help you get yourself out of a pickle or something like that, because some of this stuff can be dealt with on the side of the road instead of having to get a tow truck. But guys, whatever you do when you're working on your vehicles, please stay safe, and always make sure when you're working on starting this vehicle externally especially, that you have it neutral or park, have the wheels chalked up, park and brake locked or something like that. Hate for a truck to fire up and get away from you, okay? So please exercise extreme caution when dealing with this type of matter. Make sure the vehicle's not going to take off, okay? Hope you're having yourself a great blessed day, and praise the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Take care. So check this out. It is -6 degrees outside right now. That's the coldest it's gotten last night. Over here on this post. Right there is where the sensor is for the thermometer. It's definitely acting like it's cold outside. -6 degrees Fahrenheit, cold start, no block heater, no assistance. 96 F350 PowerStroke.